Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. We're here for the Franklin County Board of Commissioners meeting. I will now call the meeting to order, and please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adoption of current agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to add discussion on resolving the question of an unconstitutional pay increases to the regular business.
I'd like to remove item number 1 that is currently on the regular business, to give our interim administrator the opportunity to be here and discuss that with us as well.
I agree with that.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second with the amendments.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of minutes.
No corrections, additions for me.
No corrections.
All right. Approval of warrant registers and payroll rosters.
We have 2 fund expenditures this morning. I move to approve fund expenditures in the amount of $376,976.38 and note that it has been reviewed by 2 members of the auditor's office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
The second fund expenditure, I move to approve fund expenditures for the Superior Court interpreting contracts in the amount of $8,025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Michael Clayton, and I'm a 30-year resident of Franklin and Pasco. And I would like to take a few moments of your time to address some what I consider to be specious, malign allegations that were leveled against one of the members of the commission, Mr. Stephen Bauman. I think these comments were made singularly to malign his character and his abilities as to be a member of the commission. In my opinion, Mr. Bauman is a man of strong character, honor, and faith. His desire was and is to serve all the citizens of Franklin County to the very best of his ability. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Yes, commissioners, thank you. A member, a leader of our church once said, who was an airline pilot, that when you start your trip, if you are 1 degree off, by the time you arrive at your destination, you will be thousands of miles off. This is why I fight for truth, because truth is our compass. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I made no accusations. I offered questions and concerns because those that you represent came and spoke to me of things that happened to them. And I spoke privately to Commissioner Mullen and to Commissioner Didier and gave them names to do some investigations. And I've had others tell me of other things too, and I'm not, again, I don't bring names, private names, to the public forum because they have a right to privacy. The only way for discernment is the truth. People want affirmation. They worship politicians sometimes. I do not. I believe you are supposed to be public servants. You represent the people to the government. You do not represent the government to the people. Media these days only gives affirmation. They tell people what they want to hear and offer manipulation. So as my civic duty That's what civics is about, is to bring concerns from my community to my commissioners to investigate and find the truth. I seek the truth, but there's certain things that I cannot investigate. But I listen, I watch, I research, I do background checks and record requests, and I look at voting records. And then I report to the people what I find, something the media no longer does. I look at data and I ask questions. This makes certain politicians hate me and those that support them. And I take that hate as a badge of honor. Thank you, because I stand for the truth, and I am an American daughter who fights for the people. This is not for me. I get nothing from it. This is hard. I know that I'm a subject of derision, and I welcome it because I stand for the truth. I take it and I stand. And I will tell you this, that when I see things, I'm going to say it. And I know that there's people that have lied by omission. And I do background checks to actually let the people know what the full truth is. That's why it's not just the truth. It's the whole truth. And the whole truth paints a bigger picture. So I am happy, and I ask that the commissioners to continue to investigate, because you need to. The people demand it. And I know that last week someone came up here and stood and told lies about me as well. And that is fine, because I believe in the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Andrews, Pasco, Washington. When someone calls out a specific office in this building, they are calling out a person and attacking them individually. So not naming them is splitting a hair that cannot be split properly. That is not truthful, that is not respectful, and there were no lies told last week. And I guess we're just going to have to continue to walk forward. But here's the thing. 23 years ago, the Twin Towers and the Pentagon were attacked. We were attacked, and they attempted to divide us. You know what's more powerful than truth alone? Is love for one another, even when it's hard. Grace and mercy. When you have infighting in this building, it hurts us all. I would ask that our leaders, our elected leaders, settle their issues privately, please, for us. I can honestly say that despite hard feelings, I have loved the passion, the ideals, and the willingness to serve. Division breaks that. And we just saw another example. Pray for her. Genuinely. But we must pull together, because things are coming down the pipeline that are bigger than all of us. And I will continue to ask, think down the future without a county administrator, without you in office, and see how that may not serve our county. We're tightening up the budget. We're letting people go right out of the county administrator's office and the county commissioner's office. I saw that. Okay. I ask you to tighten your belts. Bring your salaries to $80,000, create a position, and create stability and continuity for our county. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin County Commissioners. Mike Miller, representing the Citizens Committee for the 9/1 Sales Tax Committee. Just giving you a heads up, we do have City of Connell. Some of this has already been repeated, but just to make sure everybody remembers what's happening with us. City of Connell has already had a resolution that they've passed in support of the 9/1 sales tax. I believe City of Pasco is almost done with it, and we'll have the same result of supporting the tax. Talked with Colin Hastings and moving towards that support from the Pasco Chamber of Commerce, and that should be done in the next couple of weeks. I understand a board meeting's coming up. I did warn Colin to make sure that any input that you provide, Chairman Mullen, is educational and that you abstain from that vote, just to protect the whole process there. So it's a good reminder for everyone. Do have meetings that will be starting at my office, and I'll get that information out. And we'll start that on Monday at 5 o'clock. We are on a short timeline here, and so mostly what I need is just everybody understanding it's a tight timeline. And can we do it? I believe that we can. Is there concern? Yes, but I think that all of us need to make sure that here's what the need is, and here's why we put it on the ballot unanimously by the commissioners. And so that we need those numbers. We need to make sure that we have our sheriff's department and the fire departments and all the emergency responders to be able to communicate across the whole county. So that's really critical. We need to make sure that we are positive in this whole outlook here as well when we're talking to our constituents. As well, also a reminder, Lavos LBA has already said that they would be helping, as well as the using Hispanic radio to reach out to our majority of citizens that we have in our county here too. Press conference will be coming up, and I'll get that timed out, as well as trying to make sure that we do PSAs and letters to the editors. So all of that's coming. Going to have to work real hard. We only have 3 weeks before the election date, November 5th, I believe it is, or 6th. I always forget those dates. But letters to 3 weeks before when we start getting our ballots out. So even though that may seem like that's the end of our time, we still need to communicate that across the board. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Do we have any callers on the phone? All right, hearing none. Moving on to approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 3 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion, the consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to regular business. And item 1 is what you
Pulled.
pulled.
Hold till next week.
So now we move on to the open, close record hearings.
Commissioner Mullen, I
Yes.
added an item for regular
Regular
business,
yes.
and that was the discussion on resolving the question on unconstitutional pay increases. We've been very reasonable on this. We've been waiting for the AG's opinion for over a year now. And I believe that it's our civic duty. These are taxpayers' monies, and we need to make sure that we do what we are instructed to do, and that is to protect those taxpayers' money. And I think that we should give it to a judge and let him decide. That's ultimately where it's going to go anyway, is before a judge. So I would like to have my other commissioners' approval to make a motion to direct our prosecuting attorney to move to recover these funds.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I move that we direct the PA to move to recover these funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I think it's important to put this to bed.
Yes.
My understanding is that that the state AG's office was drafting, back in the late spring, they were drafting their opinion. And I know that you've asked a number of times for an update on this, and it's needs to be resolved one way or the other. And I think that now it needs to get done.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to open close record hearings. Resolution. So now open the
Yes.
closed record hearing. Resolution 2024-0216. Presented by Derek Bratton on the Towers Landing.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a request to create an 8-lot subdivision in the Clark's Addition area. It's on parcel number 114232028. The zoning is rural residential 1, RR1, and the comp plan is rural residential. Property size is approximately 9.33 acres, and it's located north of Roberta Road in the city of Pasco's urban growth area, west of 47th and south of Ivy Road, east of Road 52 North. As mentioned, it's a request to divide one parcel into 8 single-family residential lots. Each lot is going to be averaging around 1 acre. They're all a little over, I think, if I remember correctly. They'll be doing new septics, or there'll be new on-site wells and on-site septic. It's located outside of the South Columbia Basin Irrigation District and the Franklin County Irrigation District, so they will need to provide, they will fall under most likely either an alternative outside source from somewhere, or they'll have the 5,000 gallon rule for the entirety of the subdivision on exempt, and they can only irrigate half an acre. All that stuff will be noted on the plat. The proposed plat's located in Franklin PUD, and Pasco School District serves the area. They were sent comment requests, but we received nothing back, which we don't know the why or what on that. But so at this point, there's no requirement for school impact fees being requested, because that's a process that's done through the SEPA. We are not involved in it. But normally what happens when we send out the SEPA, it goes to the school district. They say, hey, this, that, these, those, and then that's an arrangement that gets arranged between them. But we received no comments from the school district. They will be expanding Roberta Road to provide access to the lots, and they'll have 5 years, if approved, preliminary approved, to complete and record the final plat. It's the location. It's in the southwest corner there of, it's one of the last, if not the last, 10-acre lots in that area. That it's getting pretty much to where we've just got a few scattered 5-acre lots that could potentially subdivide in the future, but Clark's Addition's about reaching its build-out potential. This is the proposed plat. So they're just taking it and running it up with that cul-de-sac there. Pictures of the site. It's pretty standard. I believe they use it mostly for small numbers of cattle grazing or stuff like that, but it's not a big cattle operation or anything like that. May 30th, technical agencies, property owners, the Franklin County Graphic were notified, and the SEPA optional determination of non-significant was entered into the SEPA registry as 202-402-319. And then on the 17th of June, we posted the land use sign. Didn't really receive any comments from the public, and we did receive comments from the following agencies, which is not uncommon for a subdivision application. Abrogation easements for each lot shall be provided to the Pasco Airport, and they will need to have a note on the plat stating that the properties may be impacted by aviation overflight, and that they have to use non-reflective, which is pretty standard now, solar panels most of the time are relatively non-reflective nowadays, but still, they still have ones out there, and then that the lighting all has to be aimed at. Basically, it's all geared around the overflight aviation activity, and we don't want this subdivision to disrupt that. They'll need to get a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and then they'll need to utilize best management practices for minimizing dust. We're requiring an inadvertent discovery protocol on the property just due to the fact that it's been an active site for a while. If something should occur, we will, they will have to follow those proper protocols. And then they'll need to design to contain stormwater on site. So that can either be along swales, along the road system, and or even on properties. It's not uncommon to contain it within the property's boundaries. So adequate provisions have been made for the public health, safety, and general welfare. Does contribute to the orderly development and land use patterns. The area is RR1. That means that the intent is to subdivide down to 1 acre lots. This does that. The public use and interest will be served. The more lots we got, the better, because we need lots. Lots of lots. And the proposed subdivision does conform to the general purposes of any applicable policies or plans. It does conform to the comprehensive plan and zoning requirements, and it does conform to the general purposes of Title 16 subdivisions. So we did receive the application. These are the conclusions of law. We have completed the SEPA process. The Planning Commission rendered a recommendation of approval, and the review criteria for Franklin County Chapter 16-20070 was used to develop these findings of fact. Suggested conditions of approval are to, of course, require that they abide by the comments submitted by these agencies. And I do have a suggested motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So as far as comments, you received no adverse comments?
No.
All right. I have no further questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so this is the Clark edition, correct?
Correct.
And it's a Lambert.
Correct.
Lambert. It's next to the ground that it's sort of been taken out. But my question is, are they going to tie into the sewer that has been put in there?
I doubt it.
That these will all have their own septic systems?
Correct. Yeah, this is being designed and intended. Right now, the city has not indicated any interest or desire to serve the Clark's Addition area.
Okay.
So, and that's in fact where the line, it just stops and then goes up, basically cuts out Clark's Addition.
Okay.
Maintains that. It's not even in the UGA. So at this time, they couldn't extend sewer in there if they wanted to.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could you speak just a little bit to that avigation easement? My understanding with other easements in the past, that there's an agreement had between the property owner and whoever is getting the easement. I know this aviation easement has significantly impacted other property owners. Was there any type of process made to work with the landowners, or did they just take it and said, you will deal with this?
Well, due to the location and proximity of the runway and various other,
All of that I appreciate. That's not my question.
no, well, I'm explaining the reason that they have the abrogation easement. It's because.
I know the
by-
reason for that.
Okay,
My
so
question is, did they work with the property owners, or did they just take it?
I guess I'm not clear what you mean by work with the property owner or just take it.
Did they take the avigation easement, or did they work with the property owners to put it in place? Was there any consideration made for any of the property owners, either on this lot or surrounding properties?
I have not been made aware of a conflict with regard to that activity in this application. I know there have been issues with prior applicants But with this one, it's the request. We weren't involved in the negotiations or whatnot.
Oh,
The
I'm
navigation
certain that we
easements
wouldn't be.
is pretty straightforward. It notifies the land purchaser that there may be overflight activity over the property. However, for issues of neglect or things like that, or negligence, aviation activity would still be potentially liable. But it's a heads up.
I appreciate that. That
Requirement.
doesn't have anything to do with my question.
Well, I guess I'm not clear what it is that you're asking whether or not they negotiated with.
So this aviation easement is a relatively recent thing. Is that accurate? It's relatively recently put in place on any of these surrounding properties.
As far as I know, they've been doing that in this area since before I started.
Okay.
But I could be, but yeah, every application subdivision that's occurred in this specific alignment with the airport has had a navigation easement.
Okay, so, all right, I'll seek an answer to my question elsewhere. No further questions, sir.
All right, with no further questions, I will now close the closed record hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-0216 as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I will now open the closed record hearing for Resolution 2024-0217. To Penny, presented by Derek Bratton, Planning Director.
Thank you, Chair. This is a request for a rural retail business. It's located at 270 Helm Drive, Pasco, Washington. Parcel number 124190324. Zoning is agricultural, production 20, comp plan's agricultural, and the property size is 43.25 acres. It's located east of Columbia River Road and south of Helm Drive. The request is to allow for the operation of a rural retail business with goods produced off-site. The area to be used is 1.89 acres. And the site plan submitted has site access adjoining road, known easements, retail shop, septic area, greenhouse, single-family dwelling, shop, parking area, well, and area for sitting, dog walking, and plants. This is the subject property. So that's the 40 whatever, and then this is the area that is primarily used for the retail and residential uses. Here's some pictures of the site. And this is a site plan of the property. Oh, I guess I had that backwards. This is the retail pad. That's the residential. This is just well, I'll get into it in a second, but on or about June 27th, 2024, staff sent notices, technical agencies, owners within 1 mile, the Franklin County Graphic, posted a land use action sign on the property on July 15th, and made a SEPA optional determination of non-significance, registered as SEPA Registry 202-402-706. So it's an application to operate a rural retail. Basically, what happened is they submitted for their license. We reviewed the license and went, wait a second, there's some things here that aren't quite meshing up with what our understanding was. So when they acquired the property, there were already existing greenhouses selling plants and products from the greenhouse. Over the course of time, apparently more things got added. And then when they came for their license, we came across the fact that this now exceeded what was permitted by right. And that's primarily due to the fact that they were selling goods and services that were not produced on site. We sent them the notice. They've been cooperating with us, and we're now at this point, to get their conditional use permit so that their property and their business can operate with proper permits and move forward. We had no complaints. There were no issues with it. It's just a, I think, kind of mission creep scenario. And then you turn around one day and you got, whoa. So, like I said, they've been working with us, no issues really regarding that. So we noticed that there was unpermitted repairs as well and other items. Again, those have been addressed, and the applicant is cooperating with us to bring all of that into compliance. However, one of the first steps is they need the CUP, the permission to proceed. So Franklin County comments, approach permit will be required because they're and that's basically a review to ensure that their current access is up to current standards. Any utilities crossing the roads will be, basically a standard public works comments on these. So they may have to work out, they have an alternative access point. They've been using this one. That will have to be worked out. Either they'll have to get granted permission, a permit from the SCIBID, or they'll have to use that alternative route. The assessor's office is okay with it. It'll be addressed with a specific address to that structure to differentiate between the two uses on that section of the property. There'll be they were serving coffee as well, so those things will fall under, and they did have their proper permits from the health district regarding that aspect, which is kind of weird, but they'll need to get a permit. They're in the process of working with that, and they'll also have to bring it up to meet the fire code and ADA regulations for retail space. They'll need to get permits from us for any new structures or any expansions or anything like that. If they go much beyond what they've got now, that could trigger an amendment to the existing. Their operating hours will be seasonal. They'll flex with the seasons to some degree, but generally it's 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They may have special events and things like that could change that. Any permanent change in the operating hours could trigger a amendment to the conditional use permit. The PC has recommended that the following findings of fact: the proposal is in accordance with the goals and policies. It will not adversely affect public infrastructure. It will be constructed, maintained, and operated to be in harmony with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. Location and height of the structure and site design will not discourage the development or permitted uses in the general vicinity. It will not be more objectionable to nearby property. Like I said, this has apparently been going on a little bit, and we never even heard about it, so nobody seems to be concerned. They're not disturbing their neighbors, and once they bring everything up to code, the proposal will not endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Plan of conditions, suggested conditions of approval. In addition to the standard, this is the South Columbia Basin Irrigation District regarding that access, Franklin County Public Works, the addressing from County GIS, and then the comments from the Planning and Building Department. Happy to answer any questions, and I do have a suggested motion if desired.
How long has this business been in business operating?
The greenhouse has been in business for a long time. This evolution, shall we say, of the business, from what we understand, it's only occurred over the last year. So in between the last time they got their business license is when it kind of expanded. And it makes sense. Like I said, I think it was mission creep. Oh, look, there's that thing. Let's sell that. Let's sell that. And then not realizing that the threshold was broke. That once you start selling products that aren't produced on your property.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with the property.
Okay.
It's right next to one of our shops, but it's very attractive.
Well, that's why, I mean, like I said, they've been trying, once they were brought in, notified that, hey, man, you got a little far there. They've been very cooperative to bring it into compliance and working with the county and to make sure that those issues have been addressed.
Oh, good.
When
Yeah,
they work with us, we work with them, you know. As
Appreciate
long as
that.
there's not imminent life safety issues, we'll continue working with them. And I can't say we'd never shut them down, but it's generally when we do that, it's going to be because of a imminent life and safety issue. We'd maybe be like, no. But as long as they're working with us, trying to bring things in, we'll let them continue in their operations.
Like I said, it is an attractive setting. I just was curious of what they were selling, but no.
Household goods and plants, lots of plants.
Oh, good. I have no further questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No.
No questions.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
I need to close
Oh, that's right.
At this point, I will close the closed record hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-0217.
Second.
It's been a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I will now open the closed record hearing on Resolution 2024-0218, Johnson CAD Homes, presented by Derek Bratton, Planning Director.
All right, this is my last one.
All right.
So this is a request to place a detached accessory dwelling unit at 170 Schultz Road, Pasco, Washington, parcel number 124052140, rural residential 5, or R5 is the zoning, and comp plan's rural remote, and the overall property size is approximately 6.28 acres. It's west of Taylor Flats Road, north of Birch Road, northeast of Alder Road, and south of West Sagemore Road. They're looking to site basically something around 1,598 square foot. Maximum size for a detached accessory structure is 1,600 square foot. So basically they're saying we'll build up to that.
Pretty close.
But they don't know yet exactly what model or house or square footage. Adjoining road, driveway access, existing single-family dwelling, septic area, irrigation canal, and well, and the 100% protection radius, and the proposed DADU. This is the property. These are site pictures. So the proposed, well, now I remember it's this one. But the main purpose for this is to allow for the current owner to abide or reside in the ADU, and then the kids are coming in to live in the house. I thought I had oh, okay, I do have, it's the next slide that says that. On or about June 27, staff sent notices to technical agencies, property owners within 1 mile of the Franklin County Graphic, posted a land use action sign on the property on July 15th, and made a SEPA optional determination of non-significance, and registered as 202-402-708. No public comments were received for this proposal. And it, as mentioned, it's for the placement of it so that the current property owner can move in to the DADU and their grandchildren can move into the existing single-family dwelling unit to take care of the aged relative. This is in conformance to the intent of the DADU Code 17.66060G. Franklin County Public Works, again, standard comments, approach permit is required due to the threshold. And then any utility extensions crossing the roads will be addressed at the time of application. The DADU would have its own separate address for EMS purposes. They'll have to get a building permit. It'll have to comply with the standards of the current state building code. Can't be sold separately from the primary dwelling and other existing structures on the property. And it's got to be used for the housing. It can't even be used for a home occupation. It's just to provide that as additional housing for the family member. They'll have to follow the provisions of Franklin County Chapter 1766060, and any deviations may require an amendment depending on the level of deviation, but they'll have to be submitted to us, and then the department will make a determination. So, PC recommended findings of fact is that the proposed use in the RR5 zoning district is in accordance with the goals and policies of the county. It will not adversely affect public infrastructure. It will be constructed, maintained, and operated to be in harmony with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. The location and height of the structure and site design will not discourage development, permitted uses on property in the general vicinity. Will not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, vibration, dust, traffic, or flashing lights. And it will not endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare if located where proposed. In addition to the standard CUP language, the applicant shall comply with the comments provided by Franklin County Public Works, Franklin County GIS E911 addressing, and Franklin County Planning and Building Department. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
No.
Only comment is, I believe this needs to be an administrative process.
Yes.
You already know that, so.
We are working on it.
Let's go.
All righty, at this point, I will close the closed record hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2024-0218.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Commissioner Administrator updates. Commissioner Baumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Multiple meeting with legislators this week. Had a SAT meeting at CCOM, and really appreciate all the learning I'm able to do there. Ben Franklin Transit Board meeting. Meeting with Senator Dozier and the Benton County Emergency Services leadership about some of the processes that need to happen there and the needs there over the next few years. Really appreciate his willingness to come on a short notice and be a part of that. Had multiple meetings out in the county, and appreciate Rick today sharing with us about the E911 and our specific role as commissioners to be educational only. Appreciate the different offices here in the courthouse, from the assessor to the treasurer to the auditor's office, and in providing information as I got questions. Really appreciate everybody's help on that. Was able to have numerous meetings and try to answer questions and provide information on tax structure and questions that they had. Meeting with Fire District 5 Chief and one of his commissioners about some concerns there. Enjoyed going to dinner with the chief at the Pasco Police Foundation annual dinner. Meeting with the auditor's office about budget. Trying to make that a weekly thing. Appreciate all their willingness to provide information and teach me a lot of their parts that they play. Appreciated being invited to district court for celebration of Recovery Month, and appreciated hearing some of the stories that were shared there. City Council meeting, and been working on several different policies here that the county needs to update, and hopefully we'll be able to bring those forward. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Didier.
I had a virtual meeting with Benton County, Franklin County, Walla Walla counties. I don't know, there was like 80 or 90 people attending the meeting, emergency management meeting, and they went over the hotel over there that they had to close down because of a gas station had a leak, and the process that it went through to find out where this leak was coming from, and the funds that were lost by that motel is pretty substantial. Ben Franklin Transit meeting, which was got to meet the new administrator of Ben Franklin Transit, and I think that it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, but Talking with other board members, I'm hearing more board members that are stating that they're noticing that there's a lot of buses running around Franklin County and there's nobody on them. So we're getting sort of the people to start seeing that we're basically over committed on size of buses and movement of people, and we could sure lean it down a little bit, make it more effective with maybe hiring private sector who pays taxes instead of the Ben Franklin Transit, which is a government entity. Fire District 5 phone calls about what's going on there, and a lot of people calling me about the tax for the 911, and I told them as a commissioner, all I can do is give you information. I can't weigh one way or the other. And there's some people out there in Franklin County that are pretty upset that there wasn't a con put together, a con group, and at the time of the limitations is over, so there is no con group formed to put out a con against it. So they're going to go on their own and do their own thing. And I said, you have all the right in the world to do that, but you know, you won't be in the voters pamphlet. So that's that.
All right. So yes, last week I also got phone calls on the emergency tax and the disappointment that they didn't have a chance to get in the con. So yeah, moving on with that. It had a conversation with Eric Johnson this last week about the payment at SVM. So regardless of what's been put out in the newspaper, et cetera, I personally have no issue with SVM. And the conversation I had with Eric Johnson was we need to get this resolved. If we owe the money, then we should pay them. But I know that there are still some questions and concerns coming out of the auditor's office, and I think moving forward, Eric Johnson, I know he has already reached out to SVM, but I think we need to sit down and get this ironed out and find out exactly where we're at and move forward. Again, I've always thought the Simmonses are pillars of the community, and regardless of what you read in the paper, it's nothing but falsehood and false accusations. With that, I was also glad to see that Snohomish County gave a response on the investigation, and I would like to offer my thoughts on that. It was a little concerning that the length of time that it took, and then the length of time before we were notified. The letter was actually dated August 6th, and we didn't find out till September. But as a commissioner, I strongly support our justice system and absolutely believe that no one is above the law. While frivolous allegations can always be made, I take pride that the correct conclusion was reached, the process worked, and my name and others was cleared by a finding that no wrongdoing occurred. So I'm glad to have that put behind us. I've tried to stay out of it as much as possible, but it was not very pleasant. And we should not be out making false accusations against anyone. We have a lot of hardworking people in the courthouse that do a fabulous job, and there is no reason that we should be falsely accusing them of anything that's happened here. I know there's a couple major lawsuits out there. It's totally unacceptable. Moving on, administrative office business. Do we have any administrative office business?
No, nothing right now. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Nothing for today.
All right, thank you. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name, and we have 3 minutes. Thank you.
LaWanda Hatch, Franklin County. Again, I am continued to be claimed, I'm a private citizen, and I'm being accused of falsely attacking people. I think it is very rich that Ms. Andries comes and lectures about unity when the entire Civil Service Committee quit that she chaired because of her derisions and divisions, and said they would not come back until she quit. The next day she did, and then blamed it on the commissioners here, which have nothing to do with her committee. This was all reported in the Tri-City Herald, so it's public knowledge. I think that me looking for the truth angers those that do not want the truth to be known. And again, I made no accusations. I reported what some people were telling me that happened to them. And I gave those names privately to Commissioner Mullen and to Commissioner Didier. Ms. Andries has long despised me because when she ran for school board, she put a partial truth in the voters pamphlet that she taught school in Rogue River, Oregon to 7th and 8th graders. She taught 7th and 8th graders in Rogue River, Oregon was the language. And so I did a public request. And the school district there said she never taught public school in Rogue River, Oregon. And I used all of her various surnames that she's had. And they said no one by any of those names had. So I simply reported that she had never taught public school. After she said, well, the records were lost in a flood. Then she came back and said that it was a private school that she taught. Well, then why didn't she just say that on her voters pamphlet? When you lie by omission, it gives a certain impression to the public, and that is what I did, is told the public the truth, and that in her mind is causing division. I believe the truth is what causes unity. That is what I believe, and I congratulate, and I came here in this meeting over a month ago and said, I have looked into everything that Commissioner Mullen, the Auditor Beaton, and Commissioner Didier were going through. And I said I knew that they would be cleared because I looked at the evidence. That is called truth, and the truth is what unifies us. It's what makes America great. It is what our First Amendment is all about. I'm a private citizen. I'm not a public figure. I've never run for office. I never plan to. And yet, Mr. Bauman has people in closed group Facebook spreading absolute falsehoods about me. But I stand here, despite, to tell the truth that you need to serve the people in your commissioner districts, and they are concerned about things that have happened to them due to Mr. Bauman's business practices, and it needs to be looked into. No accusations from me, just reporting what I'm told. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Deborah Pasco, Franklin County. I hear a lot of truth, and the truth will set you free. I think the whole truth is what we need here. And when the police officers asked Commissioner Mullen if Commissioner Didier's name was mentioned in that recorded audio tape, he said, not even once, no. Now, the prosecutor from, I think, Snohomish County, this is the whole truth. And these aren't my words. Those are Commissioner Mullen's words, and these are her words. And she says, some of these statements could be, this is about Mullen's finding they found about Commissioner Mullen. Some of these statements could be explained away by claiming he didn't remember exactly what occurred. Others, such as stating that Commissioner Didier's name was not brought up even once, despite him being mentioned at least 12 times, is harder to claim by simply he forgot. However, due to the lack of state resources, we are unable to charge this gross misdemeanor at this time. That's all the truth. So it's not that there isn't anything unethical going on. If you make a false statement to a police officer, I don't think any of us think that's ethical, okay? So this is not my words. The people need to know the whole truth.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Do we have any callers on the phone? Do we have any need for executive session to, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, come forward.
Kathy Sant, Franklin County. I just would like to say, with truth being spoken, it wasn't too long ago when the prosecutor, Sean Sant, was accused of stealing county money when he was being paid from the auditor's office twice a month for his car payment, his car allowance. And he had himself investigated. He sent the thing to the county auditor, state auditor's office, and also the state AG's office. And the findings were that it was actually the problem at the auditor's office. His chief of staff or his secretary had asked the county auditor if there was any new ways that they're making the payments with the year changing, and they said, no, we will do the same things as we have done before. I just have never heard any of you apologize for blaming him for stealing county money, which he never did. It was a problem at the auditor's office. So I would just like, if we're talking the truth and making records clear, that you guys would apologize for accusing him of stealing county money as well, because it was hurtful as his spouse. My husband doesn't care. He does not care if people falsely accuse him. He's like, well, whatever, it's water off duck's back. But it hurts me and my children when he's been accused of doing shady things, which he was not doing. So if you could please apologize for those accusations also, which was founded by the state AG and the state auditor, that he had done nothing wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Again, any callers? No executive session?
Mr. Chairman, before
Yes.
we move on, you brought up, and I received the email from SVM.
Yes.
And I think the only way to get to the bottom of this is to do a forensic audit, and that will get the picture painted clear for everybody to see what's going on with what happened there with the funds. We need to do a forensic audit. That is my suggestion as one commissioner, that we pay the little expense, get a forensic audit, and clean the air with this issue too. It's the only way to clear the air. You have somebody independently look at it and go through the books and resolve this, because this is just going on and on. People are calling me about this also because it's in the paper almost every weekend. And that's the only way to clear the air. Also, I would like to call for an executive session. If I have my fellow commissioner, I need another commissioner to call for an executive session, or the chair can call for it. And it would be under the lawsuit issue.
I was going to ask for an executive session as well, under that same, that's RCW 4230-110-1I, potential litigation. We would need about, should we be more realistic this time around? Seems like we say 15 minutes and then we kick it out 3 times, but we'll say a half hour. And then, given that we have an additional issue here, we can discuss that as well. Does that work?
Yeah, that works for me. And again, like I said, I had discussion with Eric Johnson. He said he did reach out to SVM, and my statement is the same as it was from the very beginning. If we owe them the money, then we should pay them, but we do need to get it resolved. I think that the auditor has some concerns that need to be addressed, and it is public funds, and yeah, I'd like to get it resolved, so.
I would just say incidentally, whether it's coincidence or not, the state auditor is seeking records right now. This isn't confidential. It's been conveyed to SVM regarding that time frame for records related to management of the Hapo Center. So that may obviate the need for a forensic audit if the state auditor is already looking into.
Yeah.
Not saying that there's any allegations of wrongdoing, just that.
Right.
I mean, it's typical, and particularly with the Hapo Center, I noticed we've had prior state auditor findings even before, not that we've had any recently, but we have had some back when the county ran it regarding, I believe it was cash receipting. So that would be an area they would probably be focusing on again.
I believe before it was the cash machines, was it not? The cash machines that they had out there for
It's,
getting cash?
I mean, I'd have to look at it again, so I don't want to misstate it, but there's specific guidelines that the state auditor's office, they're called the BARS guidelines, and they cover any sort of receipting, but if we're talking about cash receipting, there are particular safeguards that the state auditor likes to see implemented, which are the minimum safeguards for protecting it. Essentially, you don't, in a nutshell, you don't want one person, receiving the money, counting it, accounting for it. You always want kind of a second pair of eyes on that. So that's kind of in a nutshell what it is. But anyway.
All right, so it's,
I believe Mr. Bauman had something to add.
I was going to call for an executive session,
Oh,
and so I believe
Under for
Same.
lawsuits, same, okay.
same RCW.
so for reference, Mr. Briggs, what was the RCW code that,
So, yeah, just so we're clear, 4230, 110, 1I, we'd want 30 minutes. So I guess that'd put us out at 10:31. Well, the clerk of the board could stay along with Mackenzie Lloyd in my office.
all right. So at this point, we will go into executive session under the RCW code stated by Jeffrey Briggs for approximately 30 minutes. Thank you.
And that should put us at 10:31 when we return.
All right, so at 10:32 now.
10:32, okay.
All right, thank you. We've come out of executive session. We're going to return into executive session for 10 minutes. We will resume the meeting at 10:44 under the same RCW code. So we've come out of executive session with no decisions being made. Is there any further business for the good of the county?
Question for you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Knowing that Mr. Didier is not able to be here, but could be here on, on Zoom, do we have urgent business, or would it be more appropriate to cancel next week's meeting?
How do we look for an agenda next week?
I can look it up.
I know we have,
He pushed some of the workshops that he wanted it for the 25th.
I already told Mr. Johnson I wouldn't be here, and I think he was gonna push that workshop back 1 week.
Have 3 consent agendas from Benton County, by county, I should say. Have the tuition reimbursement. The HUD presentation.
I don't believe any of those are time is of the essence on them. So, Mr. Chairman, it'd be my recommendation that we cancel next week's meeting.
Consensus or?
I'm good with that. I could be on remote.
I don't know about the benefits. I don't know what deadlines for
I talked to Margo already. HUB can push it back a week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So with that, I would, I guess, entertain a motion, or is it just consensus?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we would cancel next week's county commissioners meeting and move the agenda forward to the following.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. There will be no meeting next Wednesday. If no other business for the good of the county, this meeting is adjourned.